Today it's going to be a little different from the last presentation because the last presentation really was to try to find why you wanted to do something, which basically is self-control, the whole idea, character, focus, that sort of thing. Today I bring the paper because Mr. Nouri has promised that after the presentations you will get a ton load of paper that you could make reference to for the 2 weeks you've been here. And today, the idea here is finding financial freedom. Ms. D touched on it, but I'll be a little bit more detailed. And so I will refer to the paper, which you will get a copy of. It's 8 pages. And the reason I did this was because we had a couple questions where people were asking, how do I manage my business? What do I need to do to get going? And I realized that, yes, you're interested in formulating a budget, but what you're really interested in is how you get up there, how you make it happen for you and your family. And it is a long journey. It is not something, it's not just a budget. So I figured if I started at the end and work myself to the beginning, which is the budget, you would better understand why you need to do the budget. For example, one of the first things you will do if you want to start a business is you need a feasibility study. It's a big word, but basically you have to evaluate the business or project idea. You have to figure out what is the project or the service. You have to figure out the industry and the market you're in. You have to figure out your organization and how you operate the business. And you have to figure out financial feasibility. These 5 things are important because many times we figure we know what we want to do. You could take a simple thing like make tacos, or you could take a simple thing like plumbing. While most people or most technicians tend to go into a business that they have a skill about, their idea is that self-employment is a business, and it's not necessarily true. You might be able to work for money, but if you're going to have a business and you want to grow, you have to figure out how to build an organization so you end up with a profit. And that means that you have to understand your market. You have to understand what is it that you're selling. Is it just my service? Or is it a service that includes other people where I can have my cousin or my brother or somebody else working with me? And so we share it, and at the end of the day, he gets paid and you, being the owner, gets paid plus profit. So you have to figure out, you have to evaluate the business. And the business is different from the product. The product or the service, that's something you offer. But the business that the organization will make sure that the product gets delivered. And there are other ways to deliver a product. There are many challenges. The channel is that there is like, how do I put it? You could advertise on Facebook, or you could have your stall at the corner, or you could do both. So when people try to find you and they try to find food, they go to Facebook and they know, okay, they're going to stand there, I'm going to stop at the stand and I'm buy. There's a book called The Richest Man in Babylon. And the country was going down and looking poor and shabby. So the king asked his advisor, why is it that this person thinks bad and this person still make money? So the advisor told him, why are you not calling? The rich man asked him, how you doing? And then they had a conversation where the richest man in Babylon decided, look, I will help you. And you gather 50 people and I will explain to them how you could become rich as I am. And basically what he's saying is this: everybody work, whether they build one ship, one boat, whether they're ironsmith, everybody try to do their best and they make money. And the first thing he said, set aside a portion of what you make. So if you have 10 eggs, you use 9, you save 1. And every time you take 10 eggs from the chicken, you receive 1. So at the tenth time, you have 10 eggs free. You're not really free, but you have set aside one egg, so now you have 10. So that's your start. So, and you've done that without working. You don't have to work for 10 eggs, because the 10 eggs, just by doing that simple thing you've set aside, now you have the 10 eggs. So he says, okay, when they pay you, like this, one of the people who was interested in this was a person that had made chariots. And so he says, okay, after the person that pays you for the chariot, take and set aside some money. And then the second step was, okay, let the money work for you. And so one of the examples he gave is they wanted to buy some land, but the land was too expensive. So 12 of them got together and they pooled their resources and they buy the land with the idea that the land value will appreciate, and then they will sell the land, and then for the amount of money they invested, they will get a return on it. So that's another way the money is working for you. And as you go along, you will get into higher things like having houses and apartments that you build, and it pays you a rent, right? You will have, for example, what they refer to as portfolio wealth, where you can buy stocks and gives you a return. But the idea here is that you only have 24 hours in a day. So you have to figure out how best you can make the money, the extra money that you've set aside, work for you. And the part that I've said, the business, having a business, building a business, is the best way to get most money fast. Working is good, right? But you can only make so much because you only have 24 hours and your body only can carry so much, right? So you now will become a worker. At some point, you will become a business owner, right? And at some point, you will become owner of businesses. So those are the steps towards financial freedom. It's not complicated, right? But you have to stay and stick with it. Last time we talked about self-control, we talked about discipline, we talked about focus. And that's what it is. That's why you need it. Why have I gone through all of this explanation? Because the budget is where you begin to build wealth. There are 5 areas of a budget. You have transportation, housing, food, entertainment, and loans. Your budget basically covers those 5 areas. You have to pay for a part you live, you have to pay rent, you have to pay mortgage, you have to pay gas, light, etc. Well, food, that's straightforward. Transportation, you have to pay for get from one place to the next. Whether you got your car and pay gas, or whether you move around or you walk or bicycle. The place apart you could begin for say the entertainment. You might not like this, but they are expensive. Guinea is expensive. Right? It might cheaper for smoke something than buy something for drink. That dead man costs money. After when you start to spend, you continue to spend. But the budget is necessary, and you might say, okay, I can figure it in my head how much I want to spend and how much I want to hold back for paying my bills. It is a good exercise to get pencil and paper and write it down. How much I want to spend for my house? Okay, what are the spend part? How much are for water? How much are for light? And continue to itemize how much I need for spend on transportation, on clothes, on shoes. And if you have kids, you have to include them too. But why is the budget necessary? The budget is not a list like a receipt. Like when you go to shop, then get a receipt, that's how much you don't spend. That's not a budget. The budget, that's something like a moving target. That like you aim for shoot something. But that thing always the move. And that's the budget. The budget are always the change. So you might figure, okay, my objective is for save $100 this month. You might find out the end of the month, boy, I think the whole 120. So you have to figure out, okay, what part that 120 gone and the 100 what I'm going to save. But you don't know that unless you don't get it on the list. You can say, okay, boy, you know what? I'm going to buy there 2 pair of shoes that I never really need. I work on my weight while. Or maybe I'm going to treat my friend then to like 6 kiddies, right? And then I'm going to get drunk and then I spend more, right? But you don't know what you're spending if you don't have the list, right? We tend to forget. And the older you get and the more problems you got, the quicker you forget because your attention span is short. The more problems you have, the more distractions you have, the less chance for make you remember accurately where you're spending your money. So that's why it's necessary to write it down. There are 5 areas. Write it down. And the loans part. The loans important because it is good for you to pay back the loan. The small loan, deal with the small loan there first. The big loan, the person will understand if you work out and plan with them. But deal with your loans. Why? As you practice for pay off your loans, that same practice help you for save. That are the same discipline you need for pay off your loans, that the discipline you need for save. You can't begin the business if you don't save something. One of the things that I fail to mention, I have it written, is the amount of taxes you pay. You pay tax when you bring it in, revenue replacement, import duty. You pay tax on GST, right? You pay tax on fuel. You ride the bus. Why the man in the rail up about $1 taxi, $2 taxi? Because fuel gone up. But who get the money? Government. That tax. You pay tax when you earn money. You have to pay Social Security and then you still have to pay income tax if you reach a certain bracket. So, no make nobody fool you. The first person who put their hand in your pocket, the government. And if you add that up, the 40 cents and the dollar, then go with. So you have to understand why you need to pay yourself first. Why is government big and strong? Because they got the money, but they got your money enough for their pocket. How you want to get strong? If you pay yourself first. So don't tell me you can't take the lick by putting aside, because you take it every time you go to the shop and pay GST, every time you go import one car or whatever, you pay. Don't care how rich or how poor you end up to pay tax. So you have to understand that you pay. So pay yourself first. I know they say that something wrong with paying taxes. Because we have to pay for the Social Security. If you want retirement, you have to pay. Right? You have to pay for your health services. But all I'm saying to you, understand the reason or understand the thinking behind paying.
But I just want to know, is it better to create or invest?
Well, the thing about create, when you start creating a business, you have a lot more control. When you invest, you have to study. For example, if you want to lend somebody some money, you have to figure out if you'll get that back. So you really have to know that person. And you have to figure out, okay, for example, would you lend a contractor who just not get a job, spend out the money, broke and want to finish the work? You think he can't pay you back? He can't pay you back. Right? So you have to figure out, okay, what position that person in, right? You really have to, there's no easy way out. Yes, exactly. They put on a cell phone and they carry $50, but that cell phone probably worth $600. But then you also have to understand, can you sell it? Because if you go to the pawn shop, somebody think that's about to just take a grow tree. And trust me, even though you might say the pawn shop man to make money, if you're not keen, somebody not keen for $20,000, he can't turn that over. Right? So you have to think about, you have to figure out, see, one of the things about, yes, because by doing a business, having a business, your business, right, you have a lot more control over the end result, right? You could figure out the timing, you have more flexibility, more freedom to move around. So there are good things and bad things. Another thing about doing the business of creating your own business is that you do something you love or you like, and therefore you might excel at it, right? And you have to understand also that you might acquire more skills, you might learn more things that makes you better, that can allow you to earn more. So it depends on what you feel comfortable with, or what skills you have so that you will make best of the opportunity.
What are the benefits of paying health services, sir?
Well, the health services is a very simple thing. If you get sick, you didn't buy, right? And you're on double buying if you get sick and you don't have money for take care of yourself. Give example. You go on teeth where they mess you up. You get a gum infection. You say, I need to buy the food for my picnic. I don't want to deal with it. In a less than a month, you try to ignore the teeth. You take the pain, all of a sudden the teeth drop out. Don't forget that fast teeth, the headache. So you have to understand, and this could be even worse when you get older, because you might actually dead because you know to deal with. Men have this problem. Women always complain and they always go to clinic. Man think they're macho and they got the pain and they ignore it. And that pain could actually end up for being a stroke, prostate cancer, whatever it is, right? So the reason why, and this issue has come up, I'm the president of Business Bureau, and we appoint a director to the NHI, National Health Insurance Scheme. And one of the things that people might not want to hear, right? Just like how we pay for Social Security, we have to understand that we have to pay towards health insurance. Let the employer pay half, you pay half. So if something happens to you, you could deal with it. And you know what happened right now is that government pay all of it. And now that government said, listen, but they cut the budget by 40%. Right now today, they have to go and they have to pay their own medicine, or they have to pay for the test and in the bath, because they don't used to it free. Right? So you have to think about that.
Option to that.
Yes, in Belize you could the BTL and they have treasury bills, but only banks get into that. And the last one, I noticed that the government was inviting foreign Americans, Belizean Americans to buy into the bill, no? But it's easy to buy stock. The only thing I'd advise about buying stock is you have to know where to get into, because if you could see a lot of advertisement on the internet and you start to buy stock from the States, you end up to get hit by commission. You can't access your money. If your money goes into a certain fund, you can't get it back. If you get it back, there's a penalty, so you lose. So you have to be very careful as to buying stock. But yes, there is an opportunity to buy BTL and BL stock. What we don't have, and what I think we should have, is a local exchange where local companies can list themselves on the stock.
Another thing, if you have a credit card, right, you don't have access to a credit card. And what other option Belize give you to buy off the internet or buy from abroad?
Well, you have other things. You have PayPal. You have other mechanisms. Well, that's why I raised the issue. That's why I raised the issue earlier about the card. You remember when we were talking about buy and sell, right? And this is a business opportunity, you know. When you see something that you can't, that doesn't exist, it's a business opportunity. You see, right now people have trouble getting a bank account and then getting a credit card. And most people, what they do is get a debit card, meaning they have to put the money in their account to be able to use the card, right? But it would even be better. And even that is hard to get if you're not clear with the bank. So it'd be better if we have a card where you only use it when you decide to make a purchase, and you put in money in the card, and once you spend it, nothing else in the card, right? Yes, but I think there are a few companies that are trying to do that, like Zetro, right? But haven't really gotten it quite yet. They partner up with Heritage and try to do something similar, but they don't get it yet, right? So I think, to answer your question, no. That facility no exists, that convenience of payment no exists in this country, and for that, it's a business opportunity.
All right.
Other question?
Where I said that we people are in a Belize, then say if we would have really want to start for your own business, and we broke, we don't got no money, we see the vision where advice you are giving them. So we want to open a nice mechanic shop. And we got a lot of mechanic in our place, but we broke. We want that we passion that we do. You know?
Yeah.
So which way I said for God? We broke, we got no money.
There are other ways. The bottom line really don't care what you do, you have to work. For example, you could start by offering your service to your neighbor. You give only change. That's not the change you want, but you take it. And you do that over and over. You cover the IT vet and say, listen, I know if you do this thing, I want to teach your kids. I make a rent on this space, so every now and then when a car come in, I could use the space for take care of the car. Because one of the things you need in a shop, you need a spot with tools. Right? Some people would have go to Habit and say, look, at the start something, and I want to leave credit for some tools.
Say no, you need this help right off at the back. So we can go to the bank and bring one. Like what? Documents,
That's not how.
the partnership in the business.
That's not how.
Have to got money in it.
You have to put sweat equity, you have to work, put your money aside, and got something, got tools, got something. What I suggest when you don't got nothing is a simple solution. Go to work, whatever it is, earn money, because without money you can't plan, you can't set aside, you can't do nothing. So it no matter what kind of work, work and get paid for it, and set aside, then you can start to plan. That you can't run. All of us are here for one single reason. We start by our first step. We're going to work, we'll get access to some change, so we can start to plan and put some aside. That set aside our process. So you can't get wrong for not get to work. You can't walk in a bank, you don't listen to you, don't pay no mind. Right? And banks are the last people who are lending your money. They want to lend your money when you've done nothing. Because they want part of your money. You have to bring land title, you have to bring all kind of things. And even with the land title, some people can't get loan. You know why? Because the bank don't feel that the economy is strong enough to make that person pay them back. Right? So those are serious issues. So the safest thing, you got the bank, your workforce at the bank, your sweat at the bank. So think about that.
Say if you have an asset beside, you can't carry that to the bank.
Unless you got your game together. First of all, the first thing I want to know, what experience you got as a mechanic? What tools you got? What your contribution? So people say 80%, if you got 80%, they'll lend you 20, or if you got 50, they'll lend you 50, or if you got 40, they'll lend you 60. And at that time when you reach 40 and 60, because you got a lot of stuff, right? So straightforward, you can't walk into a bank and walk out with money. It doesn't happen. You could try that Scotia, but you get shot. But they kind of deal and work with the bank. Right? Tell me.
Sir, yesterday, right, I gonna try to open a bank account kind of really easy, right? Like, you mean that a problem I tell you I have a job, I want to open the bank account the heritage, right? They tell me, why I want to open a bank account, then I tell them because I get a job, and they say, who they boss, which company I tell them, I have to talk to me, people's there, make them give me the letter, and they don't tell me, they give me a letter, right? So, for instance, like where I understand with them, like if you don't have no kind of savings or no kind of accounts with them, you can't really get nothing or no kind of help on it. You have to have at least $3,000 because my uncle do it, he work and he save. He reach up to 3,000 and he end up borrow 8,000. He buy a car, sell it for 12,000, pay back that 8,000 and he end up borrow 15,000, right? So the concept where I also have my bedroom and know you have to motivate yourself, get one bank account, put up your money, they give that $50 every 2 weeks out your money, still at 50 and 50 and 100, right? So all we need for that is if we focus and put the mind back, we dream and we want in our life, ready? Everything will flow for we.
Well said, well said.